Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of our Salem by Night Chronicle. I'm the Ravenous Archon. My name is Will, and I'll be your storyteller this evening. Last we left off with our Anarch coterie. We got to see them head over to Salemtowne to meet up with Otis King and his coterie. And we got to see that Manny Garza pulled aside their Melvin Wright to talk about something. We got to see Erickson and Andreas kind of pitch a couple of ideas at Otis. We got to see the counter pitches that they got instead, and then we got to see them head over in what has to be probably the only avenue that they had open to them, which is to go and try to rescue Teddy by themselves. And then we got to see them be introduced to Teddy's grandsire, which I'm not going to spoil here because I would like you to go watch their faces, especially Andreas's face, because he is a long time vampire player, so he knows the ramifications of what has just descended on Salem. But for tonight, we have a very special episode as we get to focus on clan politics, and we get to follow Melvin as he and Manny have a boys' night, apparently. Hello, sir. It's good to see you again.
What's up, buddy? How's it going? Here's my face after I listened to the episode.
Yeah, yeah.
That was my face,
hmm
and I wasn't there.
And you also don't know a lot of the lore associated with that person, so.
Oh, no, no, no. Andreas started sharing a little bit of it,
hmm
and
hmm
it made me more terrified and excited at the same time. So we'll see how this goes.
I mean, it's not terrible. It's not terrible.
I mean, it's nice to have a boon.
It,
I'm just gonna say that.
yes,
I'm just gonna say that.
that is the currency of unlife.
Yes.
But we got to see you. We got to see Manny pull you aside. So let's start from there, as
Okay.
he pulls you to the side of the last of the Red Eye Lounge. I almost called it the last call, and moment of silence for that loss.
R.I.P.
Yep. So Manny pulls you aside. He's like, hey, listen. I don't mean to just like being clandestine about certain things. I mean, I do. I really. This is one of my favorite things about being Nosferatu is being clandestine as much as possible. But have you talked to Tulip? Because she called here about an hour ago in a huff. Like there is some shit going down.
Hello.
Hi. Oh,
Um.
hi. Hey.
um.
And he does
I
reach out his hand to shake
Yeah,
yours.
and I shake it.
And he
Um.
produces a small Ziploc of organs. He's like, "Oh, how rude of me! Would you?"
Forgot about those.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh,
Also,
I'm good. I'm full. Thank
okay.
you.
And
I
then
appreciate it though.
takes one into his
Um,
mouth.
real quick, the conversation with Tulip in the semi truck. How long after was that? The night before?
I think that was 2 nights ago.
2 nights ago. Okay.
Yeah.
So I spoke to her a couple nights ago, but there wasn't really anything super crazy. She just kind of said um our clan was in dwindling numbers in the city.
Yeah. I didn't ask what she wanted or anything like that, but she's like, she gave me an address for a cabin just like about 10 minutes away from here, so it's not that far. So I'm wondering why she's one coming over here, and why she's calling all of the Nosferatu to meet up. So I figured since I saw you on my way out, I'd bring you along for the ride.
I Yeah,
Because
I
you are
look back to
Nosferatu.
no, yeah, I look back to Andreas and Erickson, and I just kind of go, yeah, let's get out of here.
Yeah, and there is a bit of a lingering look from Erickson, but both of them walk into the club once they like he you see Erickson kind of looking more at Manny than at you, and just having that kind of like head shift, that grin of like he can't wait to do something to him for him to have an excuse. But then like Andreas just kind of pats him on the back, and they shift into the the club. It is Sunday
We're gonna
night.
be okay, right, Manny?
Oh yeah. I mean, Otis wasn't expecting anybody, but he's not gonna like kill them or anything. He's not like that.
Well, it seems like tonight's going to be full of surprises.
Oh, you don't know half of it, man. I had to break up a werewolf brawl.
What? Huh? What? What
Yeah,
do
I
you?
mean it's Sunday, like they get pretty antsy at the end of the week, so it's just letting them know, not in the bar.
Wow. So they're really getting coming into the city more.
Oh, they've always been coming in here. You didn't know that?
Mm, no, I always thought that they
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
kept to
No,
the
Charlie's
outskirts.
kinfolk.
Does Charlie ring a bell to me?
Charlie's the bouncer.
Oh, okay. Huh. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, who better to have as a bouncer? Don't tell the group.
I mean, he doesn't transform or anything because he's not fully like, "Rah," and he does kind of like bring his
Yeah,
hands
and I
up.
smirk, I
Yeah.
snicker, I give a like that
Yeah.
was good, Manny.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I've been kind of out of the city for a few weeks.
Yeah, I heard, man. You had a good vacation?
Not really. Uh,
All business?
Portland's Portland's not exactly what I thought it would be.
I mean, there's a Nosferatu prince up there. That's got to be.
He they were very cordial and very nice, but the Kwai-Jin have moved in over there and taken over a big chunk.
Bro, they're like cucarachas. They're everywhere.
That's part of the reason I wanted to come back because I know the Orpheus is
Yeah,
was under
somebody
it was under their
somebody
control.
blew up the Orpheus, man.
What?
Yeah, yeah, you didn't hear about it?
No, no, no.
Yeah, they just earlier tonight somebody attacked the Orpheus and the fucking country club in the south where everybody used to hang out. Police are
So
putting out a curfew.
both of those targets were done on the same night.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Do they have any idea who?
Not that I've heard, but uh, it's got to be tough. That the Orpheus, I understand, is Kuei-jin territory, but that used to belong to Garter, just like the country club belonged. Now that it's burned down to Garter too.
Right.
So I think he's made an enemy of somebody because Ori.
Yeah, but what kind of a symbol or what kind of a show of force is it to a building that the person doesn't own anymore?
I don't know, man. Like who? How well known is it that the Kuei-jin moved into the Orpheus? Like you and I know because we brokered information. We're Nosferatu. Otherwise, why wear the clan? But
This is true. But I mean, when I got back here, I saw what was it? Will I'm sorry because I don't have my notebook here.
uh,
The sun construction.
oh yeah, yeah. The oh, I don't know if
Oh,
it's the Rising Sun or
I
uh,
think it's yeah. Well, I'll just say just for the sake
yeah, yeah, the Sun
of
Corp,
it, I'll just say the Suncorp
Sunrise
construction. Have you seen
Corporation.
the Sunrise?
Yeah.
The Sunrise Corporation's been doing a lot of building here, and that's not a very subtle way of talk, coming in here and saying that you're, you know,
Oh
changing
yeah,
things.
yeah. I get you. I get you. I understand. But like he is trying to aggressively expand when I think he should be, you know, sandbagging it. What's it called when you try to prepare for a storm? Uh,
Oh, yeah. Buckle down, brace yourself,
Brace. Yeah, that's good enough. Shore up. He should shore up
shore up.
his his what he owns, his businesses, because that new club down in on the north end of the strip, the I don't know what it's called. I haven't been by there, but that new club isn't his. That belongs to a different toreador, just so you're aware. So somebody else is trying to break ground on what has been Gardner's territory for a little bit.
There's big moves that are happening in the last 3 weeks.
Mm.
So, there's a new Toreador to the city?
Well, not new, but she's starting to make waves for herself. Did you ever meet Tulip's girl, the one that she embraced?
Did I? I don't remember.
I
I
don't
don't
think
think
you've
I
been
did.
introduced. You haven't been. You
No.
know that Tulip has a girl, a child, but you don't
Right.
know.
Okay. Yeah. No, I haven't. I haven't had
Oh,
that pleasure yet.
oh, yeah. I would not use pleasure when dealing with her. Uh, she's a special kind of special. I'll tell you that.
Well, I guess I'll
Uh,
meet her today at the meeting.
yeah, yeah. She has a personality like a cheese grater. It's the
Have
best
you
way to
met
put it.
Erickson?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I can stomach him. You know.
Really?
Yeah, I
When
mean,
he says that, I'm like, well, really?
I, in more ways than one, if you understand my meaning.
Uh huh.
Um, but he gets to the cabin, and when you pull up,
I'm guessing he's driving.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
When you pull up, you see Tulip's muscle cars there, and you see uh, another kind of like nondescript sedan, very low key. And when you pull in, and he gets out, he looks around. And he's just like, and this is a dump. And I've been in some dumps before, but this is, ooh. And
I mean,
the cabin is a faux log cabin. It is obviously a rental place, but it's been in disrepair. It looks like it hasn't been taken care of in a couple of months. The winter has been a little bit harsh to it. And as you walk in, you see Tulip, who immediately lights up when she sees you.
yeah, I kind of walk over to her
Mhm.
and
Uh,
I put my arm on her shoulder and I'm just like, is everything okay?
yeah,
Are
yeah,
you
yeah,
okay?
yeah, yeah. I was just trying to find you because we have things to discuss, and you see four other faces. One that you recognize as Julian Poole, the Nosferatu primogen, but the other three you've never seen before.
Okay.
Um,
Now, Will, just
mm,
add it really quick.
mm,
Because I've never had really a one-on-one with my own primogen.
correct.
Is there a certain protocol with the primogen that I would know of, like, is this a bow
No,
and kiss the hand kind of
no,
thing, or is this
no.
a okay?
We don't do that here.
Okay,
Yeah. A very that it's rest in peace, but very Chadwick Boseman. We don't do that here.
got it. Okay.
Um, yeah, no, no. There's no formality, especially not with Nosferatu.
Well, I when I look at him, I at least go and extend my hand, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it's good to see you.
Uh, uh, I'm surprised actually. I'd counted on Manny. I did not hear that. Well, I heard from Tulip that you had returned, but we didn't get confirmation that you would be here. So, but it's good to see you, Melvin. Of
It's a pleasure, Mr. Poole,
course, please, Julian. Um,
Julian.
have a seat. Have a seat. Both of you, please have a seat. And Manny goes over and just immediately jumps onto a couch and just sprawls himself out lengthwise. Uh, so if you want to sit with him, like it will need you to kind of tap his feet. Otherwise, there is a love seat that you could sit on. There's a whole dining room set not too far off. You pull a chair
I'll
from.
lean on it. I'll lean on the dining room set.
Okay.
Well, actually,
uh,
he told me to take a seat, right?
yeah.
So I'll pull out one of the dining room chairs and kind of just sit down.
Okay.
I'll walk by Manny. No.
uh, Tulip takes a seat in the love seat then, and then you see Julian kind of stand over by the other three faces that you don't recognize. He goes, "Before anything, allow me to introduce uh, to you and Manny, because I believe Tulip already knows them. But these are what I call the brokers. There are three Nosferatu that I've had in the city for some time that have helped me to keep information flowing. The prince does not know about them, so they are free agents, as it were. And he introduces the first one. This is Angela Ramirez. We call her the foil. And you see this very thin, uh, like you know the painting of the Scream.
Hmm.
She looks like that. She's very kind of gaunt, very elongated face.
Okay.
Not a masquerade breach at all. Just very, very long face. The sullen, sunken eyes. It looks like at one point she might have been an a stunner. He motions over to the next young lady. He says, "This is Nadia Bartolo. We call her Snake Eyes." And you see that as she gets up to kind of nod at you and Manny, that she is flipping a poker chip through her fingers.
Okay. I like her.
Uh, and then he motions to the gentleman at the end, and he goes, "And this is Benjamin Howard. This is we call him the Reverend for obvious reasons." And when the gentleman gets up, uh, you do see that he is wearing the priest's vestments, and he has the little white collar. But he kind of nods.
And nod to all of them.
Unfortunately, we could not reach Tulip's child, Kathleen, so she will unfortunately not be part of this endeavor. But I wanted to bring the clan together because there has been a crime that has come to my attention that deals with clan business. Willow Statler has sold out Teddy to the Malkavian Primogen. Uh, as it has come to be known to me, some of you have had dealings with this Teddy from Russia and find him an amicable associate. I've never met the man, but everyone has good things to say about him. And as it is one clan member against another, I've created this tribunal. Do we make a symbol of Willow, or do we let the crime slide? I have tried to ask the Malkavian Primogen to let Teddy go, but since he never announced himself, he does not count as being part of Hyde's court. So Hyde does not care what happens to him. And immediately Tulip kind of looks at you. There is an incredible amount of worry in her face. And Manny kind of sits up. Hey man, I never dealt with the guy, but he sounds like he's a good guy, you know. Tulip has talked to me about him. I think Melvin gave him a hat. Uh, so
I I I vouch. I can vouch for my. I've met Teddy. I believe it's been a couple times now, and every single time he's been extremely cordial, helpful. He has some like 3 or 4 cats that were also very friendly. Um, he he kept to his alley and didn't want to bother anybody. Now, why did Willow do this? Do we know why?
given that Willow also turned in Andrew Givens, which earned her a position with the sheriff, I can only assume that she did this for power. The Malkavian Primogen must have promised her something. Unfortunately, the only person that she's talked to is Leslie Thatcher, and she is currently in Neverland. That's what I like to call it.
I I I understand how the politics and all this works. I've seen it firsthand, but I I can't continue to condone good people being steamrolled, killed, damaged by these politics. It's concerning to me that as enticing and intoxicating as power is for some, I'm not. I kind of stop and I just say I'm not one that's into that kind of thing. But
I've heard.
the the last thing that I would do is turn on somebody that's a good person.
From what I've heard of
This
Tulip, Mr. Wright, you have been an exemplary member of the tower here in Salem, and so to hear you say this about Teddy really puts in perspective the situation for me. I am loath to want to call for a hunt on one of my own clan members, but since the beckoning, since what happened to Geraldine, more than ever, I
when
think.
when he says Geraldine, I basically squeeze the chair
Hmm,
and with my potence on just
yeah,
kind of crack it when he says what happened to Geraldine because it gives me thoughts of Albert
yeah,
and I see Albert again.
yeah. Uh, he he takes a moment as you crush the the end of the armrest on your chair. He goes, ever since the situations that have led us to be led by Prince Hyde, I've understood more than ever that plan has to come before anything else. I came into a close knit community, and I thank Tulip. I thank you. I thank Willow for the most part, and even Mr. Garza, who I have not had interactions with. I thank you for having accepted me as the primogen. This is not a decision that can be made lightly. I leave it to all of you. I will honor however the vote lands. I don't have the power to enact a blood hunt, but this would be a hunt where we would be hunting one of our own. Uh, and the only thing I can offer as a reward is a boon or two. And
And I
Manny
say a couple more
immediately
things.
sits up and he's just like, "That works for me, man."
I kind of look at Manny and I go, obviously that all sounds very, very enticing and wonderful. Um, but a couple things I just want to kind of point out. One, um, it's easy for us to accept you and your leadership role when you've not presented any kind of concerning behavior or issues or anything like that. You seem unlike others, and I assume I'm speaking freely here to my clanmates, others who, frankly, are trash. And I have no qualms on my feelings, and I will not hide my feelings on the rest of the primogen in the city. But that's for another time. I just want to make sure that our actions, because we can vote, but ultimately, most of the time they say shit rolls downhill. But this is going to put a big target on your back, and I point to Julian if this comes out.
Understand?
And as
I
I mentioned before, I fear bad things happening to good people.
I understand your concern, Mr. Wright, and I can see now why Tulip puts so much of the well-being of the city on your shoulders, as she describes it. Um, I trust everyone in this room, even if I've only interacted with you on a very small level, um, to put clan above anything else. So I don't see anyone in this room selling me out, as it were. Is that a pipe dream? Yes, wholeheartedly. But if we can't stand for something, what good is being what we are?
Now, I guess my follow up on this would be: are we keeping this as quiet as possible that we are doing this hunt on Willow? Or, and I look over at Manny, and then I look back to Julian, or are we, are you wanting as much discretion as possible in keeping this in house?
This has to be in house. This has to be done by us and us alone. Um, we cannot afford to let it be known that one one of our own betrayed clan for power, and we can't let it be known that we acted on a blood hunt without the prince's acknowledgement and endorsement, more importantly than anything else. Everyone here
Does
understands the tradition that the right of destruction belongs to the prince.
and I nod. Um, so do we? Is there any information on where she is at the moment?
You hear uh, the footfalls of somebody climbing up the stairs into the cabin.
I when I hear that,
Mm.
like, are you expecting somebody? And I reach for my 1911.
He's like, no, everyone that was invited is here in some way, shape, or form.
All
Uh,
right, I
and
draw it, and I kind of take a position.
yeah, and you see the window in the window next to the door, a hand kind of comes up and just slightly waves, and then you hear a familiar voice. I'm not here to cause a problem. I'm here to offer solutions.
I take a step back, and I kind of drop my gun,
Yeah,
but like in shock.
yeah, and everybody stands up at that point. And you hear, I'm gonna come in, and I assume that if I don't get attacked, that I can speak freely.
I
And
Yeah, I know that accent that you do. I know exactly. Sorry.
the door handle turns, and the door opens, and Grant Reynolds is sitting there
Yep, that's who it is, motherfucker.
with a bowling ball
Okay.
bag in one hand and uh, a bloody, almost broken bat in the other. And he goes, "I I don't mean to interrupt the clubhouse meeting. I did, but I did see Mr. Wright, and he kind of tips his hat at you, Melvin.
I tip it
Good to
back to
see,
him, and as I'm putting the gun away,
good to see you again.
I know who to respect. Like,
Uh,
you as well, Mr. Reynolds.
I saw you outside of the red eye. I was gonna go talk to Otis about something, and you know, seeing two Nosferatu skulk away just kind of piqued my curiosity a little bit too much. So I kind of followed you. I apologize for that. And I apologize to you, Mr. Poole. I did not mean to interrupt your social gathering. Uh, but if you need somebody found, I tend to have a problem of my own. I can pull this Willow Statler for you. Uh, in exchange, I would like you and your little coterie of misfits to find Werner Hertzfeld for me. He seems to have gone to ground, and he's made it rather difficult to find. Julian steps forward and he's just like, Sir, you are aware that you are an anarch baron, that the prince has allowed a blood hunt on, and so we are in our rights to kill you. And Grant smiles. He goes, "You are correct. I understand, and there are 6 of you." And he looks at you. 5 of you that would attack me without a second notice. Then he opens the bag and lets the contents fall out. And you see the head of Ashling McGinty roll out.
Ooh.
But if you're looking for somebody to pin the country club fire on, that would be me. You see, I'm after the betrayal of Mr. Hertzfeld, I've taken it into my own power to try and undo Hyde's princeship. So, uh, step by step, I'm going to remove his primogen. So I'm here to serve notice. You can stand with Hyde, and unfortunately, on the wrong side of me, or you can stand with me, and we can do some good for the city. But this tulip uh, has kind of stepped behind Julian, but she is looking at you with almost not not disappointment, but definitely hurt eyes. Like to hear Grant Reynolds refer to you as like a friend and as somebody who won't stand against him has definitely hurt her.
I I stand up and I walk over. As I'm walking past, I kind of do this thing on her shoulder, and I walk and I stand in between the two of them,
Yep.
and I kind of take my hat off. I start playing with the rim, like spinning it around, like in contemplation, very dramatic, looking down, and I say, Julian, I believe that there's a saying that is appropriate for this kind of situation. And I think for right now, it may behoove us, given how we are already acting outside of the tower. And I look around at the cabin. That saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And I look over at Mr. Reynolds. I go, we have a rapport, do we not?
Nods.
I feel there's enough of a respect as long as respect's shown. Correct.
Calls.
You did just walk in here making claims that you're targeting all the primogen of the prince.
I did.
And I go like that, and I kind of just do this. Well, I'm not looking at Julian, and I go, he's an exception. Can that be understood?
Mr. Wright, you and I have come as close as possible to me using the word friend to describe you. And at that, Julian steps forward and he says, "Ask him about all of the new thin bloods in the city." And immediately
He
Grant
says that to
Reynolds,
me.
yeah,
motherfucker.
And Grant Reynolds kind of puts up his hands. Mr. Poole, uh, although in the past, and let's not mince words here, I believe that everyone knows what I used to be in my former life. So let's dispense with any of the fear mongering. Yes, I was a Sabbat Templar. Yes, I understand that there are tactics that we have used in the past, but did those tactics work, Mr. Poole? How many cities currently wave the Sabbat flag triumphantly? Because I can tell you, it's fucking none. So, do I know about the Thin Blood incursion? Yes. Am I responsible for it? No.
And I'm gonna reveal it because fuck it. I look back down at my hat
Mm-hmm.
and I start twirling my hat. I'm like, so Mr. Reynolds, you know of this thin blood incursion.
I do.
So you know who the son of a bitch that turned my daughter was. And I look
Uh,
up at him.
I do.
At some point I would appreciate that information. And I crumble the hat. Like I from anger. I look back down and I say, at some point I would like that information, and I crumble the hat.
He looks at you for a moment. He goes, Mr. Wright, I will always be disposed to freely give you the information that you've asked for. My question to you, however, is if I knew, as I do, of who turned your daughter, but I also knew who was responsible for your sire's demise, which of the two would be more important to you?
When he says that, I kind of just take a step back. I throw the hat on the ground. I think back kind of to I don't is really fucked up, but
Hmm.
this is how I'm thinking.
Yep,
I don't really know her. This is all internal, obviously. I'm not. This is not what I'm saying to him, but
sure.
I don't really know her as much as I really knew Mickey. I distanced myself on purpose from her to
Mhm.
try to keep her safe. The only interaction I had was with my granddaughter. Um, so I think Melvin's gut reaction is going to be, "Who's the dead motherfucker that killed him?"
Good.
And I want it to be conveyed in a way that Melvin has never spoken in front of Tulip before or Manny. That there's this change,
Yep.
and that the cool, calm, and collected Melvin disappears for that moment. Like my hat's destroyed. My, you know, my, I never really cuss that much, and there's this fire in there.
Goes, understood. And you see him reach into his pocket and he pulls out two envelopes and he hands you one of them. And then in an almost inhuman speed, you see him tear up the other one. And there's just confetti of yellow and white.
Now, out of character,
Mm.
trying to play chess while everyone's playing checkers.
Mm-hmm.
whoever's responsible for the Thin Blood incursion will probably figure them out eventually,
Sure. That's on the list.
because that's a problem for everybody.
Correct.
So that's another kind of
Oh,
thought
yeah.
process there.
Yeah, yeah.
But and then I grab the envelope and I don't open it. I put it away.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of look over and I nod to him and I look over to Julian and I just say, "You have my full support on whatever you want to do." But
Julian looks around as you say that, and goes, I, as much as I dislike Hyde and what he represents, he still was verified by an Archon. His praxis was confirmed. He is Prince of Salem. I cannot, in good conscience, lead an entire clan into an anarch revolt. And you see Grant Reynolds just kind of smile. There's no other option, honestly. Uh, you got one white devil who will quietly burn the city down, all the while smiling in your face that he didn't do it. You got me. I will tell you what building I will burn down, so you have ample notice. And Julian looks at everybody and then he stops on Manny. He goes, I have a counter term for you, Mr. Reynolds. If we do not side with Hyde, you will not attack any of us, correct? And Grant Reynolds nods. He goes, so we don't have to side with you in particular. The Nosferatu clan of the city could side with Otis King instead. And Grant Reynolds takes a step back like he was not expecting that.
yeah, it was a no shit moment.
Mm-hmm. And he goes, all right, I understand. Just be aware that once I'm done with Hyde, Otis is next on the list. And Julian nods. It's a good thing Mr. Hyde has 5 other primogen for you to worry about. He nods. All right, so do we have an understanding and do we have a deal? If I bring you Willow, will you bring me Werner Hertzfeld? So I can show that son of a bitch what it means to betray me. And Julian
Yeah,
looks
I
at
was
the
like, I can't
gathering.
say nothing.
Yeah, Julian looks at the gathering. I think, Mr. Reynolds, and as much as we'd like to help you with your situation, the problem that we're facing with Willow is a clan problem. So we'll handle that on our own. But so that you have not wasted your trip, if someone were to find something out about Mr. Hertzfeld, I'm sure that we can find a way to get it into your hands. Are these amicable terms for you? And Grant
I
Reynolds.
turn and kind of look at him, like, but put my back of my head to Julian, and I'm just so that Reynolds and I can look at each other,
Mhm.
and I kind of give him like a, take the fucking deal kind of. It's a fair deal kind of face.
Yeah. And he looks at you, and you see that his gut instinct was to spit in the face of this deal. This is not a man that is used to being um, being told no. And so he sees your face, he locks eyes with you, and goes, "These terms are acceptable." And here I wanted to eat myself a Nosferatu. I can wait. Mistakes will be made. Good evening, everyone. I apologize for storming in, but I'm glad that you and I could finish our business, Mr. Wright. I look forward to the good news of you uh, getting closure, as it were.
I just nod.
As he opens the door to step out, you see that there is a female standing there. Her hands are ragged and it looks like she has elongated fingers until you see the claws retracting. She's auburn haired, brown eyed, short, kind of Karen haircut, um, fur coat, very warm. Excuse me, warm clothing, but not in an American silhouette. It's definitely European. And he kind of puts his hand on her shoulder and just shakes his head no. And then she sadly retracts her claws and they both walk away.
I close the door.
Yeah.
I walk over and I close the door.
And Julian looks around. He's like, right, well, unfortunately, that feels like we've had enough excitement for tonight. So, if we could all make our way to the basement, um, I've arranged for Mr. Thompson to help us out tomorrow evening once everyone is awake, um, so we can get a head start on our hunt. And Manny looks at you. Bueno, I guess we're having a sleepover party, man. Hope you brought your pajamas.
I'm gonna need a new hat.
Yeah. But he picks it up and he kind of tries his best to fix it for you by hitting it.
I
Goes, nah,
grab
man,
it. And
recycle.
I smirk and I grab it. Um, I walk over to Willow. I mean
Tulip.
Willow. To Tulip.
Yeah. Yeah, and everybody's already walking over to where the Primogen has opened up a latch for the basement sleeping arrangement. But you see that she doesn't look at you. She's looking down at her hands.
I know you're disappointed, but I haven't done anything. I promise you that. That put me in his favor. He met me at a nightclub when we were doing a stakeout and liked my conversation with him and decided he didn't want to kill me at that point. And since then, he's been cordial with me. But I have not done anything for him. And I'd like to think that you believe me when I say that to you.
He nods. And
And I don't say
she
anything else,
she
unless
hands
she says
you
something.
no, no,
Oh,
she reaches out, she grabs you by bottom of your sleeve, and you see that the thing that she's been playing with is a micro cassette. And she puts it in your hands. This is what the messenger delivered for you.
I
And then she
take it.
reaches into her pocket and she pulls out a small handheld recorder. Because you can listen to it on this if you want. And she walks by you down to the basement.
Is there anybody else up there right now or no?
Everybody has gone downstairs.
Okay. I'll move a little bit farther away from the stairs.
Okay. You can
And I'm
also
gonna
go
go ahead
outside
and
to the deck.
Okay, I'll do that. And I'll put the cassette in.
Okay. Let's hear what you have been delivered, sir.
Hey, Melvin. It's Connie. Old friend, how I've missed you. You know that feeling where you just have so much to say and so much to share, but you don't even know where to begin? That's where I am right now. I'm just so excited. I feel like I'm imagining you sitting in front of me right now, but you're not. But nevertheless, yeah, I don't even know where to begin. It's been so long since I was with you in Salem. I've been everywhere. I spent some time in Chicago. I spent some time in New York. Getting to London was pretty tough, but we did make it here. Definitely had to play around with a few animal transformations, which has been incredible. I've gotten really good at it. If I were to have to pick my favorite, it really would maybe owls. I really love owls. And you really do get, a taste for mice. I kind of get it now. Mice and rats are delicious when you're an owl. What else? Well, Josh and I are doing okay. We've definitely have seen our share of some action here, especially with the Society of Leopold and the Undercurrents. It's just, how it goes. But we've been able to kind of miss a lot of the bad stuff and stay relatively safe, which has been pretty nice. It's a little boring, and it's really hard to get close to anybody because the society is getting rid of all of the people that I meet. Since we're on that manhunt right now, or I guess. But yeah, enough about me. How are you? How's Mustang? I could see her little eyebrow now, pretending she doesn't like having me around. Can I ask you to give her a huge hug from me? Oh, and Lydia. How's Lydia doing? Oh, did you ever figure out how to play Uno? Did you ever figure out that you have to say Uno to win? Next to her, I always felt like the ultimate Uno champion. Well, I hope that she's doing okay, and that she got to enjoy some of the clothes I left behind. Not that I had great clothes, but I had a couple good sweaters there. And Betty B, my little fluffy friend. Hope she's doing okay. You know what? Make sure that you give her one of those treats for me. You know which one I'm talking about. The ones she goes crazy for, that you only let her have like one of every 6 months. Why don't you give her one from me? Please? And of course you. I still miss all of the detective stories you would tell us, and I miss just hanging out with you. You're always like a big brother, or like another dad to me. Don't tell Joshua. But anyway, come and visit. I would love it if you came to visit. I don't know how that would happen, but let's figure out how to make that happen. I'd love to see you. I hope you're doing okay and that you're staying out of trouble. Hope you're still fighting the good fight. I hope you're still trying to do what's right, even when it's hard. And yeah, maybe we'll have tea soon. Just kidding. We can't. We're vampires. Okay. Bye.
And the tape clicks to an end.
Melvin. Wow. Melvin falls back. Is there a chair on the
Yeah.
deck?
Oh, easily. Yeah. Sure. You can have a chair.
Yeah, he kind of falls back into the chair and just sits in silence. I don't know if I can cry.
Cry.
I know, like, Albert's crying thing was,
Yeah. It'll be tears of blood, but yeah, you can cry.
yeah. He's gonna cry. He's gonna start crying. And he looks down at the cassette, kind of does like a little shake with it, hits rewind, and listens to it all over again. We don't have to do it now, but
Yeah. Yeah.
listen to,
But yeah.
and he does that a few times.
Yeah. I figured he would be just listening. But it does get to the point where Manny comes out. He goes, "Hey man, like there's cots down there for us. But it's getting close to sunrise if you want to come down."
Like, I look up to him and I kind of like rub the tears of blood.
He goes, "You okay?"
I'm better.
Okay.
And I get up and I kind of just like pat him on the shoulder, and I walk inside and go downstairs.
Right. The next night, if you could give me a rouse check, please. Or you pulling yourself out of your day sleep.
7.
Okay. Do you think that, and this is completely up to you,
Mm-hmm.
because when vampires sleep, it is that they are dead. The corpse kind of just sits there. There's nothing to animate you. Do you think Melvin dreams? And would he dream this night, this day?
I think he would, and I think his dream. I think his dream would be picturing Connie on these adventures that I'm coming up with in my head, of her in Chicago, me remembering Chicago, even though it's now 60 years, after I
Yeah.
was in Chicago, 40 years after I was in Chicago, I still picture it as that Chicago because I don't know anything better.
Yeah.
And I see her there. And, the images I have of New York. And I just picture weird adventures that she's going on. And then, like, silly cartoons, like a cartoon thing of like her eating a rat with like like the bib and the fork and the knife. Like,
Yes.
she said it was tasty. And then I feel like part of the night would be a little rough because I would go back to her, me, and Albert, and the hijinks at the hospitals,
Hmm.
and then the times with Mustang and Lydia and all those things. And it's great, sweet, it's great memories, but it's painful
Hmm.
now because all that's gone. And despite me getting this letter, I mean this recording, it's just a recording and she's not here.
Yep.
So It it's hitting in different emotions right now. So I feel like my sleep would be a mix of restless and not.
Yeah. When you come to, some of the other Nosferatu are already awake. They're whispering off in the distance. The only one that's still asleep is Manny. But Tulip kind of sees you getting up and she waves hello to you. Um, but you do hear somebody kind of walking around upstairs. And after a moment, the trapdoor opens and you hear a familiar voice as Richard Stephen Thompson calls down. Well, are you going to stay down there all night, or and we actually get down to business? And you see one of the brokers come over and just shake Manny's cot, and he groggily comes to. Hey, relax, okay? I'm up. It's just I like to stay with my eyes closed for a little bit, you know? It makes me feel like I'm still not a vampire anymore, like I'm still alive. But he stretches, gets up.
I walk over to Tulip before we go up, and I just tell her thank you.
Yeah. I managed to snag that from the Archon before she went to meet with Otis, so
Needed that. I appreciate it.
come upstairs and you see that there are a number of syringes laid out, and there is this full body mirror that is standing next to Richard Stephen Thompson. And he goes, "All right, if all of you could line up, take a syringe, and give me a little bit of your blood, I'll be happy to use that in the ritual that I am concocting. And when I'm done, we should be able to get you to a place where you can uh, do some good in looking for Willow." So, and Julian breaks himself, puts a little bit of his blood on the petri dish in front of his needle, puts it back, and he just kind of like looks down the line. And you see the brokers do it. Ulip does it. Manny looks at you. I don't know, man. This feels kind of like a like Edgar Allan Poe, you know, like fucking. Are we gonna start listening to like heartbeats under the floor and shit?
This is the least confusing and complicated thing that I've dealt with since last night.
What? Okay, if
And
you
the
say
heart
so.
and that heartbeat is probably coming from your Ziploc bag. And I smirk at him and I like hit him on
Yeah,
the shoulder.
but he pricks his finger. He puts the blood on the petri dish.
I don't do it and I leave. No, I'm just
I'm out,
he does it. Suck it, bitch. No.
bitches. Uh, but yeah, once you do it, Thompson grabs all of them. He holds them in his hand as he starts to do his ritual, and you see him prick his own finger, and he uses the blood to create a mark on the mirror itself. And when he finishes, the mirror ripples like somebody threw a rock into a pool of water. And he goes, "Okay, so this will hopefully, if I've calculated correctly, this should take you to a small cafe that I have a trusted associate at. It is in the eastern part of the city, which is the last place that someone saw Willow. So once there, you're on your own, but at least I can get you over there without you having to spend an hour driving in that direction. And Julian puts his hand on his shoulder. Thank you, old friend. I owe you one for this. And Thompson says, I know. I understand. All right, single file line. Go on through. And you see Julian nod, look at all of you, and he steps into the mirror. And it's very much like Stargate, like he vanishes. Tulip hesitantly goes next. The three brokers follow suit, and then Manny kind of looks at you. I've seen Coulson do this before. I've never actually gone through it, so this is going to be really interesting, bro.
See you on the other side, Manny.
Yeah. Yeah. And he jumps through.
Okay, now before I go through,
Right.
I look at Stevenson and I just ask him really quickly. I'm like, how really quick, how far can you send people with this?
Across the world. If we know where we're going.
I nod my head and I look to the pocket where I've got the cassette. I'm like, good to know. And I step through the mirror.
All right. It is disorienting. There is a moment of pure, and it is literally a moment. It is an instant of just pure blackness and frigid cold. And then every star in the cosmos, every pinprick of light that has ever existed, it flares up for a moment, and then you are in a small kind of closet space. Everybody's cramped up as you pop in. You can smell the espresso, the beans for the different kind of coffees that are there. You can smell sugar. You can smell the cinnamon. This is definitely a cafe of some sort. But once you are there, you feel people kind of pushing to kind of claim their space, and as Manny's kind of pushed into you, you fall back into what you believe is going to be the mirror itself, but you don't feel that give. Like, it is a rigid, hard mirror. So whatever pulled you through, whatever blood sorcery was used to push you through in this direction, is definitely over.
I don't know if I want to do that again.
Yeah. And Julian looks back. All right, we're all accounted for. Let's get to work then. And he opens the door, and you can hear the small chatter of a couple of tables of people from somewhere outside of the room. And as you emerge out, you see that you're on the second story. There's a balcony that kind of overlooks the workstation, the kind of brewery station that exists there. You can see the top of the pastry kind of glass housings, the merchandising area. And it looks like a younger couple who might be on a date. It looks like there's an older couple drinking tea, but nobody has taken notice of all of you. He goes, all right, there's a back door just down this way. And he leads you outside. But you definitely are no longer in Salemtowne. Like, you know that you've traveled a distance.
Do I see any kind of, if I look around, do I see any kind of markers to see exactly kind of where I'm at? Like a name, like, like blah 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 bakery or something like that, of like a name of where exactly I am.
On one of the side streets, oh, excuse me, on a smaller one of the streets, because you're between two small streets. As you walk towards the corner, you notice that there is a sign that says "To the 5." this way.
To the 5?
Yeah, to I-5.
Oh, okay.
So at least you're somewhere near I-5.
Okay. So I guess I I mean I asked Julian, I'm like, so they mentioned there was mention that she was last seen around this area. Do we have anything more to go on aside from that?
Uh, yes. So there is a small, um, there's a small park, by, I want to say just south of Center Street, between Center and State Street. I think it's called the Walker Park. Uh, it's one of the places that she has been seen hunting before. So ideally, we should make our way there first.
What was the name of the park again?
Walker Park.
Walker Park. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I kind of like lead the way. You are the
Uh,
primogen.
but he looks at you. He's like, "I technically, you are the detective here, Melvin. So I think I would defer to your skill set in this endeavor."
It's an honor. And I kind of nod to him, and I start walking
Yep.
towards. And I'll look and see if there's I'm like if there's street map, like a map, or if there's like street signs, or if there's any way that I can
Yep.
figure out where to go.
Uh, yeah. After a moment, you find out that you are, um, the side street that you are on leads you down to Center. And once you get to Center Street, it tells you, hook a right to go down to the 5. Um, and so give me a intelligence and streetwise roll. Um, you're a hunger 1, so that's fantastic for you.
Yeah.
Uh, and this is a good dice pool for you.
Yes.
And that'll determine, um, whether you know what side of the 5 you're on and what direction you were coming
Oh,
from.
I think I know where I'm at. I got a 7 on my hunger die.
Okay.
Then I got a 3 and a 5. And then I got a 10, a 7, and a 6.
Okay. 4 successes for sure. Um, given the direction that you came from, given the direction that they're asking you to turn to go to the 5, you've put yourself somewhere in, what is northeast Salem. Um, you're imagining that you have come down from what is, 45th Avenue. So you know for a fact that, a couple blocks down, you will get to the 5, but that you also know that the Willamette Town Center is not far from here. There is a DMV located not far from the 5, uh, but it does tell you that you are, by walking, maybe an hour away from Walker Park.
Okay.
About,
Well,
actually, no, half
I
an
will.
hour.
Okay, so I'm gonna relay that message to the craziest bar crawl that this town's ever seen.
Yes. This is definitely not Drink Around the World.
Yeah. Um. So I don't know if we want to keep walking, but I just relay that message to them that it's about 30 minutes that way.
Yeah. Manny looks around, then he looks down. I didn't bring my walking shoes, so give me a second. And before anybody else can say anything, you see him skulk off towards one of the cars that's parked not too far from him there. And he starts checking doors. And Julian just kind of looks at you, like, you're You're okay with this, yes? Like this, you're not still under the impression that you are a police officer.
No, yeah. Unfortunately, in my unlife, I've come to terms that sometimes bending the rules for the greater good is permissible.
Understood. Very well. And you see him find one that opens, and you see him just kind of like, we got us a car, everybody. Come on. And there are 6 of you, 7 of you.
7, because there's the 3 brokers:
Yep.
Julian, me, Tulip, and Manny.
Yep. There's 7 of you. It is not a big car, but it is a 4-door at least. And Manny just gets in the driver's seat, and you see him up the cylinder, and he starts to get to work to hot wiring.
I just I walk over to where Manny's at and I pop the trunk.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? First, I want to just try this to see what the luck is. I look down and I go, and I pull the sun shade down
He's dropped
to see
down.
if there's keys. And I go, and I just stick them in their face. I'm like, get in the trunk. I found the keys.
He goes, "Oh fuck, man! Who puts the keys in the visor? That's so stupid."
And I just tap him on the shoulder. I'm like, sometimes there's ways around the box.
So stupid. And you see him pop the trunk, and he's like, "Man," and fine. And he crawls into the trunk. And Julian happily closes it on him. Uh, the 2 female
And
brokers sit on top of each other. Julian and the other broker squeeze into the back, and then Tulip sits in the shotgun position.
yeah, I drive the back of the car into a wall. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. I'm joking. Uh, sucker.
Fuck this
Um,
guy.
yeah. And I'll start driving over to the park.
Okay.
Regular speed. I'm not trying to draw any more attention than the clown car of Nosferatu that needs to be made into some kind of fan art. I'm just saying, folks.
Yeah,
I would love a fan art of me
you
and
and me
Julian
both.
in the front seat with everybody in the back, and just
Yeah,
Manny Garza's head popping out of the trunk,
yep. Uh, but
saying,
yeah,
"This is bullshit."
this is bullshit. Who puts the keys in the visor? That's so stupid.
Almost the keys in the visor.
So stupid. You pull up to the park. There's a couple of people just walking around. It is still the 80s, so that after dark park closing shit, not really enforced.
Before we get to the park,
Yes.
I speak to Julian and I say, I think our best course of action would maybe to do a circle around the park and
Mm,
drop people off as we go, so we can cover more ground.
like the sound of that. Yes. I excellent.
So I'm assuming, since I kind of know where I'm at, the lay of the land, like I know how big the park is.
Yeah, the park is a rectangular plot of land.
Okay.
It is maybe 3 blocks long and a block and a half wide. It is not a big park, but it
Okay.
is big enough. Um, you also know that it is kind of frequented by hooligans sometimes, as the Marion County Juvenile Corrections Office is not that far from there.
Yeah. Well, they're fucked tonight.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna fuck with the wrong people tonight. I'll tell you that right now.
Yep.
Give me
But
your money.
oh, I'll give you some money.
Yeah.
Uh,
Here. A
But
fistful of dollars.
you also know that from the park, you can easily see the Oregon State Penitentiary.
Okay.
But yeah, there's only the one parking lot in the park. So driving around would mean that you would have to drive uh, like a half block away, use Greenway Drive, so that anybody that you're dropping off in the north end of town would have to skulk through a neighborhood to get to the park. Um, there isn't really an eastern access to it, though the road on the east side is very short. So anyone that you would drop off on that side would also have a small neighborhood to go through. And there is no southern access. So for
So it's
feeding,
horseshoe.
yeah, for feeding it is an amazing park because there's no one really um, to kind of come at you from anywhere. And anybody that runs would only have the one real access out, which is the parking lot.
There's only one real place out.
Mhm.
Everywhere else is kind of. Well, I mean, but they could. It's a vampire. They could jump.
Yeah.
I would still suggest maybe then just splitting up, having like 2 or 3 on one of the other sides, kind of patrolling, just to kind of walk in case somebody goes out that way, and then the rest of us, the other, what is it, 4?
Yeah.
We could go in through the parking lot.
Okay. So
If that's the case, if there's not really a way for me to drive around and drop off
yeah.
like every
So your choice is to have you, Tulip, and Manny be the 3 that come in from the top, or have the brokers be the one that come in from the top. And you, Tulip, Manny, and Julian are the ones that come in from the parking lot.
that option, that second option.
Second option?
Julian, me, Tulip, and Manny together.
Okay. So yeah, you drop off the brokers, you go around, you come into the parking lot after a few minutes. And as you're getting out, you do see that towards the center pavilion, there is a person that looks to be in this long Victorian dress, this high collar, and this very subtle but evident kind of veil to their face that you recognize as Tulip's garb. Willow's garb.
I knew it. Tulip's right there, just pointed her.
Yeah. But Tulip kind of she hangs back as you point her out, and she finds a quiet corner, and Manny starts to kind of peel away, and Julian says, "I will draw her attention by being out in the open. If you would like to follow along with the others and skulk about."
If that's what you prefer.
I don't know how she'd react to you and I coming at her. So, me by myself,
Okay.
I have the excuse that I've heard that she hunts here, so I could say that I've been looking for her.
Okay. I got a 3 on my unseen passage roll.
Okay, so as you find the quiet, dark corner, you pull on the shadows to try and hide you, and as you do, you are bombarded. The beast inside you, as your hunger rises, starts to remind you of everything that had bugged you during the day. You start to remember how you couldn't help Albert, how you couldn't help his daughter Lydia, how you couldn't help Mustang, how you couldn't help Connie, and it just sits there, and you can feel that scratching at the back of your throat, that scratching in the pit of your stomach for more Your throat is on fire. Your lips are drier than usual, and it it feels much more not not gesterish, but definitely like much more mocking coming from your beast. Like it is definitely preying on the surface thoughts and those surface emotions that you've been feeling, and it is easily pouncing on them like a starved wolf. Like it is grabbing them up as they bubble up, and it is just shaking them violently into the foreground of your visions, of your mental eye. But you do manage to turn on Silence of Death and Cloak of Shadows.
Unseen passage.
Unseen Passage, sorry.
Yeah. Wonderful, and I'm traumatized, which that's nice.
Um, but you do see that Julian goes up to her and he's like, "Ah, Miss Willow, Miss Statler, if I could have a moment of your time." And she immediately kind of like sits up, closes her book. She goes, "Yeah, yes, of course, of course. Sorry, I didn't know that you were looking for me. I would have made myself available and come to see you." He's like, "Oh, please, please. There's no need for that formality. I merely wanted to ask you if you knew anything about a Nosferatu that has been brought to my attention recently. I believe his name is Teddy.
Am
And
I? So I'm close enough that I can hear everything.
Mhm, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. What side of her do you want to be on? You want to be able to see her face? Do you want to be able to?
Yes.
Okay. Um, when he says that about Teddy, you see that she tilts her head and there's a bit of a smile on her face, and she's like, "Oh, yeah, he's not a Nosferatu. I just handed him over last night to the Malkavian Primogen. Um, he's he's a Simitsi. He's been infiltrating the city."
I'm gonna do an insight check, and I have a specialty in detect lies.
Yeah, okay. So that's gonna be wits and insight. So
That's why I wanted to see her face.
all right, you've got two hunger this time, so
Yeah, and
it's
it's
gonna
wits and what?
wits and insight.
And
So it's gonna
insight, right? Okay.
be
7
seven,
dice.
eight dice.
Oh, because of the specialty.
Specialty gives you an extra dice. So two
Yeah.
hunger, six regular. That's a good dice pool.
Okay. No, not too great. It's okay. Not for that dice pool, but I got a 10 on my hunger.
Ooh,
I got a 3 on my hunger.
okay.
Then I got a 2, a 3, a 5, a 6, and an 8. So I got 3 successes
Three
out of all those.
successes.
Um,
Do you want to chance a willpower point to reroll three of those dice that aren't hunger?
yes.
Okay. Because you've got three successes right now, which is not terrible.
I got a 10 and a 6, and then a 3.
Okay.
So
So you
6
rolled
total.
into
Or 5 total, right?
you rolled into a crit. So it would have been five. So it's seven. Uh, the crit gives you an extra two successes. Um, you see, given her posture didn't shift, given that the smile seems to be a genuine smile of her having accomplished something good for the tower, she is not lying. Or at least she believes wholeheartedly that Teddy is a Semitsi that has been infiltrating the city. And he is not Nosferatu in the least. Um, and Julian takes a step back and he goes, "If this was the case, why wasn't it brought to my attention? I could have brought this to Prince Hyde's attention. We could have done a full search for any other insurgents that are in the city, this you understand that this puts you in a bad light with the rest of the clan because we all believed Teddy was a Nosferatu. And she goes, yeah, but he's not, so I'm in the clear. He's a spy. I did what I should have done, and I gave him over to the Malkavian Primogen. He's an undeclared kindred. He has no rights. And Julian looks at her. She's like, ah, that is technically true, Miss Statler. I grant you. But how do we know that he isn't Nosferatu? Was there a test that was run? And she goes, no, I have a source who told me that he is he is not a Nosferatu, that he is a Tzimisce, and that he comes from a powerful line of Tzimisce from Russia, in particular. And he goes, to do this without proof, I don't understand why you would go through with it. And she goes, well, I obviously now have a boon from a Malkavian Primogen. That's why I did it. And the first thing you see is Tulip breaking through the shadows as she attempts to impale her with a stake through the back of the chest.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Okay. Yeah, that's
Uh-oh.
enough. That's enough. I got 2
Oh,
10s.
okay.
So yeah, the crit helped. And with the surprise of it all, you see the moment that Willow is pushing herself up to stand, Tulip emerges from the shadows just like it is being ripped from her like a band-aid. And the only thing you see is that she has her hand on top of her other hand that is holding this sharpened wooden stake, and she just brings it down with this fury. And you can see that she's been crying. There are just tears of blood that are streaming down her face, and she pierces. You can hear all the 3 ribs cracking with such force that it reverberates in Willow's chest. And the moment that she opens her eyes as the pain courses through her body and her fangs reflexively enlarge, she freezes. And Willow steps back. And you see all of the other Nosferatu emerge from their unseen passage. And she's just shaking her head.
I haven't yet, by the way.
Okay. But yeah, Manny kind of goes up to her. He's like, hey, look at me. You're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay. Hey, it's okay. Um, and
So wait,
Julian,
she's still so she's still moving her head and everything?
Tulip, yeah, Tulip
Oh
is
no, Tulip's the one that was
yeah,
shaking her head,
yeah,
not
Tulip is the one
not.
shaking her head. No,
Oh,
Willow,
okay.
Willow is completely frozen.
Okay, no, then I come out
Okay.
of it also.
Um, and Julian looks around. Not a word of this to anyone. And he grabs Willow and starts to take her back towards the car. And all the Nosferatu follow suit.
I
You are left with Manny and Tulip, who he is trying to talk her down from what she just did.
yeah. I'll talk. I'll do it too. Like, are you I didn't realize it would affect you that much.
we need to protect Teddy. We need to save Teddy. Who knows what Kaiser's gonna do to him if he believes that he's a Semitsi in disguise. He's gonna have a field day with him.
I'll tell you this. She believed what she was saying. I did my thing and she wasn't lying.
I know Teddy. Teddy's not a Semitsi. He doesn't act like a Semitsi.
If he's a spy, that's what they're supposed to do. Tulip, I appreciate what you did, but we need to get her out of that because we need to know who her source was. Right before you impaled her, she said a source gave her that information.
But it's false information. It has to be.
We need to find that out.
Manny looks at you. He's like, I can go get another car. You want to give the Primogen your keys? I mean, the only way to really find out is to go to the Malkavian Primogen's house. I can call Coulson. Coulson can taste the blood, and he can tell you what somebody's clan is without a shadow of a doubt.
That might be the best option because I don't think they're going to unstake her to bring her out of Torpor and then take her again.
Yeah,
To
it's a little dangerous. But yeah, he takes your keys, he hands them to the Primogen, he goes looking for another car.
Before we leave, I pick up her book. What book was she reading?
It's not a book that's written. It's a journal. And you notice that there's no pen. She wasn't writing in it. She was actually reading it. And it is a journal.
I'm not going to hide it from Tulip. I'll start looking at it.
It is a journal whose writing is sloppy, hurried, but familiar to you. Because this is one of the journals that belonged to Albert Frost.
I kind of like I take a step back and I kind of drop the journal.
Yeah.
When I realize it.
It is this journal is focused entirely on the connections that Carthage has to Atlantis. And there are allusions to the way that Atlantis could have existed in different places at the same time because of travel through different waterfalls that were used as mirrors, and it starts to click for you what Albert was really onto and why he might have been embraced.
Knew it without knowing it.
Yep. He was of danger to himself as much as anyone else.
Okay. I pick up the book and I put it away.
All right. You drive over. Tulip tells you how to get to the Malkavian Primogen's house, the estate.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get there, you see that it is on fire.
Oh, good. Okay.
And standing outside in the front of it are Erickson and Andreas, Eddie, and what looks to be this androgynous human whose facial features are just so perfect they're alien to you.
Okay.
And this is where we're going to pick up the next episode. So you got to see what happened to Aisling McGinty. You got to see one side of the Teddy situation. And you got to see where Grant Reynolds is has been doing.
It's gonna hit the fan now.
Yeah. Yeah. So as always, thank you guys for being a part of this. Thank you for taking this special episode to see what Melvin did with the other Nosferatu, why the Nosferatu have sided with Otis, um, and what's happening in the periphery of Salem as we're getting closer and closer to New Year's Eve in 1985. Whole new year with a whole new slew of possibilities. So, as always, at the end of this, I want to give you a chance to plug whatever you're doing. I know that what's it called? The podcast is back.
Yeah, yeah. The podcast back. The Crime
Crimacopia.
Ocopia. We released the newest episode of season 2, which is the Sun Gym Gang. Which, if you saw the movie or heard of the movie Pain and Gain,
Hmm.
with the bodybuilders that committed murder, it is a ridiculous story, and it's very crazy what the truth is, and you guys would definitely enjoy it. Um, Basically, that's the one thing I'm doing right now. I'm hoping to jump onto some of the other podcasts I was doing before,
Mhm.
once time allows. But that's the primary one I'm doing, along with this fantastic show of Will torturing me and my character every other week.
How did you feel with Connie's message?
Oh no, I wasn't already uh, emotionally, screwed this week, so that that helped a lot. Sorry,
Okay.
that helped a lot. But I big shout out to Connie
Yeah.
for that, because I do miss my coterie member. But congratulations to her and her
Yeah.
wonderful husband.
Yeah. And her almost 1 year old.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. 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 But yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised when I was like, "Hey, man, could you record a message that you would want to give to Melvin?" And she was like, "Yes, any day. What information do I need to give?" And I was just like, "Hey, you can do whatever you want. These are the three important things that I want you to hit."
It
Uh,
was fantastic.
so
It was really
uh,
great. That
yeah,
was really awesome.
yeah, I appreciate her as much as possible. But as always, here on the channel, we take mental health very seriously, and we like to tell people that it is okay to not be okay, and that more people should know that it is okay to not be okay. And so, if you need help and you're watching live, there are phone numbers going up in our Twitch chat. They'll be in the description box if you're watching on YouTube, so you can get the help that you need. Because there are people out there who are willing to help, who want to help you. And there's also a link going up so that you can find the resources you need if you're not living in the United States. Uh, because, like I said, people want to help. There are resources out there for you, so don't feel like you're in this alone. We are not an island, and there are people who are willing and trained to help you with your problems and your kind of issues and whatever might be clawing in the back of your mind, your demons. There are people that can help you. So just you know understand that you can reach out if you need the help. Um, but as always, you can catch us here on Mondays for Vampire the Masquerade. 1 week is an Anarch chapter, 1 week is a Camarilla chapter, as this is a dual storyline. Tuesdays are for Werewolf the Wild West and Legend of the Five Rings, and every other Thursday we have started a 7C campaign, which is a lot of fun. I love the system, and that there is always shenanigans to be had and booty because it's a pirate game, so there's booty rocking everywhere. But thank you guys again for being a part of this. Thank you for being for letting me run a little solo adventure to see what Melvin was up to. I kind of liked your idea earlier in the week, so I was just like, I'm glad that this happened with Kenny. But as always, we will see you when we see you, so please have yourselves a good night and take care of yourselves. Bye.